way, we sort of timed it right. But anyway, since that time, fresh prepared food sales have gone through the roof. And you know this when you go to the store, it's about the periphery of the grocery store, right? That's where I spend a lot of my time now. And the inside, you know, where the packaged foods are, it's not getting as much attention, so you can imagine that shrinking. New groceries have started changing our lives. So we used to cut corners at the end of the process, right? You buy your fast food or your TV dinner or whatever, and sort of at the very end, get it on the table. And now it's about cutting the corners on the front end of it and then finishing it off yourself. So whether that means buying pre-chopped produce or getting a meal kit, these things have changed my life. If you have these grains that are pre-made and the pack that you just microwave, it's amazing. You can get, you know, farro on the table in 90 seconds. So this is really helping. And then, of course, these meal, did anyone do the meal kit deliveries? I just started, which is crazy because my husband is a chef, and between the two of us, we were both so busy that we were ordering takeout every night, and we had a big fight about it. I was like, we're getting a meal kit. Now he takes the meal kit, completely like disassembles it and does something crazy that they didn't say to do, but it still helps. The groceries still arrive at the door, you know, so we are still cutting that corner. Blue Apron is now delivering 8 million meals a month, and these are just exploding. So I think, you know, we have changed in that we want to be part of the end process. We want to be in the kitchen cooking and want to put it on the table ourselves, but we're okay cutting some corners. And it's kind of about mental energy for me. It's that the mental energy in planning the meal and thinking about it is so much a part of the process. And these companies are taking at least that part out of it. All right, lesson 7. This has to do a little bit with storytelling. Everyone wants to be part of the conversation. We know this with readers too. It's about, you know, with social media, it's about talking on a daily. We actually, we recently pulled our letters to the editor page. We didn't tell anyone. I just kind of wanted to see if no one noticed. Because it's such an old-fashioned way to communicate in print. You know, you have to play to the strength of print. Now more than ever, we're competing with all these other forms of media, and we realized that we were running letters that were 3 months old about stories that were 6 months old. We talked to women every day on all sorts of social media, so it was silly to keep the letters to the editor. That said, people really they need a relationship, and they want to be part of a process, whether it's a product or, you know, part of planning the magazine. We do a reader issue every year now. The consumers want to be involved. So this on the map, this on the left is a map of restaurants that have started from Kickstarter campaigns. Ida ran this map, and I love it. It's just about people wanting to be part of a process. And of course, as you might have seen, the Lay's Do Us a Flavor contest. They had huge success with that because consumers just wanted to be part of naming it. You sort of feel connected to the end product. And then Pinterest, of course, is exploding. Food is the fastest growing category on Pinterest, and that's just one big conversation about what we've made and what we love. And then for the millennial group, big companies are sort of tapping into this idea that they just want to see themselves. It's like one giant selfie, right? So then they're putting their names on products. These were Oreos where you could put your name in the corner. And Coke had huge success with that, too. Yeah, millennials. Lesson 8. Oh, wait, I have to get this letter. Tracy, is my purse over there? I have it on my phone. I received the nastiest letter I've ever received, and I think my assistant held on to it for like a week because okay, I got it. Sorry about that. She didn't want to tell me because this woman was so evil. We had run. Let me find it. Okay, shoot. We had run a story, and we had done a movie issue, and I had written a letter about buying snacks at the movie theater. And I showed the snacks I bought, and it was, I'm sorry, let me just find this really fast. Here it is. I had written that I had bought a soda and popcorn and M&Ms, and we had a little arrow, and it said, you know, this box cost me $17. Which is what it cost. So she writes me, I hardly know where to begin except to say that I used to admire and respect you. I enjoyed seeing you on Food Network on Saturday mornings. Now I'm simply disgusted by your disconnect with the rest of us. She goes on to explain she's a retired teacher. Are you insane? Are you in the real world? Get a clue. Live among the rest of us for a week. How much do you make? And then she goes on and on and on. How would you like to send me a check for $17 so I can buy 3 items at the movies plus a ticket? You're arrogant. Yeah, anyway, she goes on and on and on. So I sat on it for a second. I was like, I'm going to write Carolyn back. So she didn't leave an email or anything. I hand wrote her a letter explaining who I was, that both my parents were also teachers, and my kids are in public school, and $17 is what it costs for this food at the movies. That's great. It's not, I know it's crazy, but also I shared that one box of food with my kids and husband. So I sent her that and a couple of movie tickets. Okay, wait, let me show you. That's Carolyn, the one on the left who wrote me the really mean letter. One letter to this woman. She is now our absolute best friend, biggest fan. And I didn't say anything mean. I was very nice. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. That is a box of stuff Carolyn sent us, and as a joke, she spent exactly what I spent at the movies. It's $17.16, and she sent me the receipt, and these are all the things she bought at the dollar store with that money for our staff. And now she makes us Christmas wreaths and earrings, and I love her, but the lesson is how much a personal connection can do. And every time we get a nasty email, or we've done this since the beginning, handwritten letters, any form of handwritten letter, I handwrite back because no one does that, and it's a nice touch. But calls, say 95% of the time we get an angry call, just calling back changes the whole conversation. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. They never think a human's going to read it or listen to you. I didn't mean what I said. Once in a while it doesn't work, but for the most part, that's been the biggest lesson of all. So no matter your size, we have a big audience, but luckily the negative letters are low enough that we can usually connect with them. Most important lesson of my whole career. Nobody likes it. And I will prove it to you in a second. First, I will say that part of this is that our attitude toward food has changed so much, even since we launched. And it's really, we're accepting normal things like fat in moderation. Butter consumption's increased 25% in a decade. That is really good news. And diet books are lagging. And there's a quote from a literary agent: people aren't really interested in those lose 5 pounds in 5 days books anymore. So we polled the millennials on our staff about this idea, and they said, you're absolutely right. No one I know is on a diet. What they're talking about is what they're putting in instead of what they're taking out. So look at this grain bowl I ate. Look what I put in my smoothie. Look at these great things I'm eating, my avocado toast, whatever, overnight oats, the stuff people keep posting. And it's not about what they're not doing. So here, these are just a glimpse of all the crazy diets. I remember we were on the Pritikin diet when I was a kid. My whole family did that one. All these are Slim Fast. You remember all these. And now it's kind of about the anti-diet. And the 20-year-olds in our office say they don't ever hear people talking about dieting. And it's really, I think, part of this brand and who we are as a magazine is that it's all about moderation. That's how we live and how most of us live. You're not denying yourself things all the time, and you're accepting that. In fact, in our January, February issue, it's always this what do we do? You're supposed to lighten up, but it's a Super Bowl, so we do both things. And we lighten up on the weeknight, and then we go completely nuts in the Super Bowl section with cheese and nachos and everything else. So these are the kinds of letters we're getting. I'm a foodie, but I want to be healthy, but I want a snack. I like veggies, but can you give me a good burger? So that's really. We got that out of the focus groups too, and that's become a lot of what we're all about. And this is true in the store. If you think about, you're hearing constantly that big manufacturers are taking artificial ingredients and preservatives out of their food, and then you turn the corner and it's crazy food coloring in the cake aisle. Duff has a whole line of 18 different tie-dye cakes, and they're selling, and you're seeing these all over Pinterest and great colorful cakes. So it's not that we don't want the food coloring, we just don't want it in the soup we're having for dinner. For dessert, like normal people. Okay, kale. So I went to my boss and I was like, everyone loves kale, this is gonna be huge. It's our January issue, lighten up for the new year, kale save. And she's like, I don't think it's a good idea. And I did it anyway. It was our worst selling cover of all time. A couple months later, giant cupcake, look at the difference. 114,000 more copies sold. of the giant cupcakes. So I proved my theory. Anyway, I thought we could have a cover pop quiz. There will be prizes to see if you can guess, and there are lessons learned in all of these, how we sold. Okay, so there's 2 holiday covers. Anyone for a prize want to guess?
Left.
Tracy, give her a prize. Anyone else say left? We've got like 3 prizes for everyone.
Can I just give whatever here?
Yeah, whatever you want. So, see the difference. 582,000 for the red. That was actually our best-selling cover of all time, compared to 466. And it was such a huge drop. These were 1 year apart. And it was so shocking to us. I mean, our December cover traditionally sells very well. And we spent tons of time trying to figure out what we had done wrong. You know, they're both pretty colorful. We didn't change to a white background. They're both sugar cookies with icing on them. So that was kind of a control. And finally we got a letter from somebody, and she nailed it. She's like, you know, I look to you guys around the holidays to be super cheery. I want to see Christmas cheer and fun. And that one was just depressing and brown. And I think we were, in our effort to look a little sophisticated and do this sort of foresty thing, failed. Like the old Martha touch there, but didn't work. So you wait, this year's cover is so cheery, it's like practically lights up. It's really happy and red. Oh gosh, the fonts didn't come through. Ignore the fonts on these, but anyone want to take a guess?
Left.
Right. Who said right? For a prize. Look at the difference.
Wow.
Because it's sugar?
So the thinking here, and the woman I mentioned earlier, who was the original founding editor of Good Housekeeping, had talked about this a little bit. That although a cover like the one on the left, you see it and it's sort of shocking and appealing, and you might want to eat it, it's not necessarily a recipe you need. You're not dying for a recipe for a burger. You probably know how to make one. And there wasn't a whole lot of intrigue there. We do burgers sometimes, but we try to make sure there's a sauce that might be interesting, or what is that topping? I'm not quite sure how to make that. There was no mystery in this one. It was a burger with curly fries on it. So the cinnamon buns, though, were a shock, because we had resisted that one on the theory that we didn't want to put anything too intimidating on the cover. And homemade cinnamon rolls are a project. But we did it hoping that it just looked so good you just had to have it. And that's kind of what happened. So we're always either shooting for that idea, just like grab it because you want to eat it, or meet them on the other end and put something on the cover that looks like you really want the recipe for it. All right, last one.
Right.
Very similar covers. Both ran in October.
Right.
America loves a bread bowl. We have since this one, if you look, I have a wall of covers in my office, and we put a lot of things in edible bowls now, hoping to recreate the success of our soup in a bowl. We've got like soup in a squash and edible chocolate bowl. So that worked out well for us. Anyway, that wraps it up. Those are a few of the lessons I learned. Certainly not all, but do you have any questions?
Do you know what percentage of men versus women buy your magazine?
We're actually higher than most. We're 30%.
Wow.
Which is that's a lot of men, but that was intentional in the beginning when we looked at the brand. It really is not a gender-specific brand. So if you read through it, we're careful. Despite the husband comment earlier, we never reference your husband or your children. This is really kind of supposed to be me time. We don't know what age they are because the age range is also very broad. So we've kind of tried to make it age and gender neutral.
How do you keep
from falling into a rut? Like if you know that red cookie cover did so well that you don't keep repeating yourself.
You know, we do repeat ourselves. I was like, Thanksgiving again, we just did it. It comes around every year. But I actually credit our creative director for that because, you know, a lot of magazines, particularly right after we launched and we came on strong with this new look and this food and focus and all white background, a lot of others started doing similar things, and the credit to her is that she never does a massive redesign. I mean, sometimes you're looking at a magazine and the next month it looks completely different, all new fonts, and you can tell they've done an overhaul, and she's intentionally not done that, so it's kind of about very steady evolution. So she'll change out like 1 or 2 fonts at a time, or do very gradual things. But you know, newsstand is tricky right now. Print is struggling on the newsstand, so we're constantly trying to figure out what resonates with people, and it's changed so much even since we launched. And the toughest thing for us, and I hadn't processed it until a few years ago, is people are on their phones in the checkout aisle, and it's just, they're not, that's the single biggest contributor to the fall and newsstand sales for all titles, is that we're just like this. And it's not just magazines, it's gum, candy, all those sales are coming down because we're just not looking around.
Do you think that it has, I mean, it's so exciting, do you think it has peaked, or do you think it's going to still keep going?
I hope not. Do you? I guess that's a more important. Does anyone in this room? No, I hope not. I mean, the nice thing about being part of a brand like this is that we kind of go where they go, and we intentionally didn't give stars their own columns in the beginning. We didn't tie regular stories to shows on the network because we didn't want it. The worst thing imaginable would be that we'd take a brand that was that lively on air and flatten it into print. And so it was really about playing to the strength of print. So a lot of what we've done to kind of stay current is that example of pulling the letters to the editor was just one of them, but we really now more than ever have to play to the strength of print. And so that's not about providing tons of sidebars and listings and that sort of thing. You play to, you know, what you do well. People always pitch, like, let's do a playlist with this story. It's like, that's the worst idea you could ever do in print because you can't play it. You know, when you're on a device, you can play the songs. In print, you can't. So it's really about going big with visuals and, you know, making sure the recipes are all self-contained on a page, that they don't jump to other pages. So we're more conscious of that than ever because we're competing with phones and TVs more than we are with other magazines, really.
So that makes me curious about your digital space and digital property versus print.
It's in our case, it's completely separate. So Food Network is over 20 years old, and the digital came shortly thereafter. So all of that was in place before the magazine existed. So we are truly the print arm of the brand, and we actually tried, shortly after we launched, the iPad came out, and we're like, this is great! So we developed this amazing cookie app with all the cookies we had done. The cookies were like spinning, and it was doing all these cool things. We spent a fortune on it, and we were about to launch it, and Food Network was like, what are you doing? We're the digital, this is the mothership, this is digital, and you're the magazine. And so doing a digital version of the magazine suddenly didn't make sense. Although we are separate, to the consumer, it's all one big brand, and we couldn't start doing a magazine branded digital. Right, exactly.
Will you be doing a story on trends in the next 20 years, where it's going with the way the earth is reshaping its growing seasons?
20 is a little far. We do like a year at a time. In the January issue, we have some flavor trends. Our struggle is always that, you know, what you're seeing in restaurants in New York, it takes a while to get out to restaurants around the country, and it's certainly into grocery stores. So we're more obsessed with field trips to the grocery store than anything else. We take regular field trips to the store. I shop in a big Y on the weekends and look at what's there, because that's what really changes things. You know, you can have chefs doing all kinds of crazy stuff with interesting spices, but until McCormick starts making it, you know, people aren't cooking like that at home.
So do you see that? Do you see like people going out to dinner and trying a lot of different, foods, ethnic foods, but then when they go back home, are they doing that, or are they kind of sticking with what they're used to?
Well, that's where we try to bridge the gap between those two things. So they might go out and try Vietnamese food or an Indian dish, and the test kitchens are really trying to kind of find accessible ways in. So the way we always consider it, certainly for the cover, but also for the inside, is we kind of start with something familiar, a bowl of noodles, and then we'll add we'll kind of gradually add the interesting. So we're not going to go off the deep end and do something truly out there, but we'll introduce new flavors and spices kind of gradually through familiar things. So you might have an Indian spiced burger and start keeping that spice in your cabinet and then using it for more and more adventurous things. And we follow, I didn't include all these slides because there are billions of them, but we have a lot of research backing that Americans, and particularly millennials, are truly interested in trying new flavors and new spices. So that's given, I mean, we argue with our test kitchen because they try to get us to put miso in a weeknight dinner. I'm like, no one can get miso. They're like, we can, but I can't find miso in my grocery store. So we argue with them about the kinds of ingredients that can end up in weeknight. Like, would you cook with lemongrass on a weeknight? I wouldn't. I just don't want to deal with it. So most of those arguments we win. If you see anything crazy, it's because I lost.
Do you argue with the stars a lot?
Talk about that. Argue, no. Some of them are harder to get than others. That what a lot of people don't realize is that they are in no way contractually obligated to do anything with the magazine. So we approach them the way anyone would. So a lot of times, if they have a book coming out or a project they want to promote, then they work with us and do things. And some of them we have a great relationship with Ina. We've worked with her since the very beginning. She's so lovely. She's exactly like she is on TV. So certain stars we've just built really strong relationships with. Others won't give us the time of day. It's like life. It's like high school is what it's like.
When you talk about focus groups, how often do you sort of go to them? How often? Because I find sometimes you can sort of you're this way and then you're this way,
No, it's true. They were so helpful in the beginning, and then we did focus groups. We really haven't done series focus groups since the beginning. They're really expensive and time consuming, and so we've had to, for many reasons, cut back on the budget for that. We did a lot of editorial research just on paper in the beginning, and since then it's a lot of gut, to be honest. I mean, the other thing is social media feedback is so fast and so good that when we misstep, we know instantly. We don't necessarily need to do a big editorial research project to know that people hated something. They will tell us right away.
Do you have any demand for vegetarian or vegan, issues?
We do. It's really small, and so it's it's a group we hear from vegans quite a bit, gluten-free certainly, kind of begging for more, but we have to balance that with the fact that, I mean, in some of our studies it's as low as 1 or 2%. It's just not a big enough group. Like I said, it's kind of more what people seem to want more of is just this balance. But we make sure there are enough vegetarian dishes, and certainly enough where you could easily pull the meat out. So we don't announce it, and we're not putting. A lot of times, if you put a label on it and call it vegetarian or vegan, you'll turn off people who would otherwise have made it and been perfectly happy with it. If you tell your husband you're serving vegetarian dinner and he's like, but if you just serve something tasty and he loves it, better to just, leave it be.
Can you share any teasers about some upcoming issues or projects?
Well, a bright, cheery December cover. We have, we're doing an all-Italian issue next year. Our ad side is, it's great when we give them a theme or something to kind of go out to the market with. So the Italian issue should be fun. And we have we're doing a lot more home content now, just sort of getting into the lives of the stars. One, because people are obsessed with them and they want to see their homes. We just shot Aisha Curry's home, Steph Curry's wife. She's got a new show, and so that's been fun for us to shoot them. But so we're doing a lot more kind of lifestyle content, more than we ever have. And that's part of that is just the reality of the advertising community and the need for more home beauty, that sort of thing.
What about the shift in demographics since you started? Because you talked about millennials, so you've done a lot of research there. But baby boomers, are they still engaged in the magazine as much as you're seeing the millennials?
I mean, I hope so. Like I said, that's where the power of the brand really helps us, because it's so broad, and it's a very loyal group. We were told early on, watch out, this magazine will do well because they're not only fans, they're really loyal fans. They'll do what we say. They'll buy the magazine, they'll get it dirty, they'll cook with it, and that turned out to be true. So no, I mean, our demographics have kind of, so we've actually become a little bit younger since we launched, which is great. You know, it's great for everybody, just the sign of vitality. But we hope no one leaves us when they, I don't want anyone to age out.
Speaking of age, I don't have a cooking classroom, and by far kids are more interested than anybody, and they all quote verbatim all the Food Network shows. What are you doing for kids? And so I can tell them, because they are hungry, they're asking for knives as Christmas presents.
Isn't that great? And my daughter just did a Cupcake Wars birthday party, and I got super into it because I'm competitive, like I said. And I was like, "Great, we'll judge it." You know, her dad's a chef. I was like, "He can judge." She's like, "No, everybody has to win." So that's like the combination. I was like, "Come on!" This is the everybody gets a trophy generation. I'm like, winning is great, and we should. But we did that part. The network itself has had huge success with kids lately. I don't know if you've seen, they do Chop Junior now. They had Kids Baking Championship. They just did Food Network Star Kids for the first time. I mean, it's a balancing. I think they're trying to figure out how much more they can do before, they tap out. But I think it's a huge topic for them, and we've been doing a lot of it. So we do a kids issue, kind of a pull-out standalone kids issue every September. And we do a fair amount of coverage of those shows. So in January, we're going behind the scenes of Kids Baking. My own kids are obsessed with that show. I'm obsessed with that. Have you watched that show? It's crazy. These kids are like 9, 10, 11, and they're making the most unbelievable. I mean, they're making homemade eclairs and choux and nuts. So it's been fun to watch. I don't know where they're learning this, but we will certainly follow along. A lot of times with the network, we kind of wait to see what sticks on air, because they're doing a lot. They're putting a lot of pilots out there. The kids thing, I think everyone was like, was this going to work? And it turned out it did. So, and then we follow once we know it's working, and we start doing more of it in print. So we will certainly be doing more with kids.
How much insight does the network give to you as to what they're doing?
We meet with them once a month. Well, I talk to them all the time, but we have a long, involved meeting once a month where we look at their programming grid, and we can see out, they have a long lead time just like we do, so we can kind of be in lockstep, and we can look at the year ahead and see what they're trying and know which stars are working and which ones are like, not. So we know kind of who to focus on, and so we try to stay with them, but like I said, kind of over here on the side, because there are things that are just more important to do in print than we can do on air. Baking actually has been also, along with kids, baking has been huge for them. When we launched the magazine, said, baking's not a big part of the brand. I'm not sure you guys can do much with it, but print is a perfect place for baking. You can take your time and really show people how to do it, like the cinnamon rolls. But now baking's really exploding on air too, so we're doing a lot more of that.
So I'm going to ask Maile to stay up here just for a moment. You all dropped your business cards, I hope, when you came in the door. We have about 5 more prizes that Maile brought with her from Food Network magazine that we are going to be giving away. And so I'll have her pick. We will announce some lucky winners.
Carolyn from the College of St. Rose. Sandra Denoto. Ariel Robinson. Liz Birch.
She already got something. She got something right.
Chef Melanie Taliska. Did I pronounce it right?
And the last one.
Anne-Marie Walpole.
fun when someone squeals. I'm Jennifer Gish. I'm the senior editor for Women at Work magazine and a features editor at the Times Union. And I am deeply regretting that I did not let my 8-year-old daughter skip school to see Maile this morning. Because she would have loved it. She is my sous chef. She used to say until recently my shoe chef. And she would have really enjoyed this event. But I'm so glad that all of you could be here. This is a wonderful day. We're so proud to have Maile. We're so proud to be part of this network. And we have many, many good things on the horizon for Women at Work. Next week we have Tamis Groff with the Albany Institute of History and Art. Will be giving a presentation as one of our members, teaching members breakfasts at the Times Union on grant writing how-tos. So if any of you have a nonprofit or have dreamed of having a nonprofit, this is a great event for you. You can find information on that on Eventbrite if you search for Women at Work, as you can for all of our events. November is an extremely exciting month for Women at Work, and you'll notice on the back of your programs all the information you need to have about that. November 1st, we have an event in conjunction with Key Bank about women and finance and navigating life's financial challenges, whether you have a special needs child or loss of a parent, anything that kind of life throws our way. There's going to be a panel, a wonderful panel, talking a little bit about how to handle those things. So please take a look at the back of your program and be sure not to miss that event. It's a lunch event, and it'll be held at the Desmond. At the end of the month, November 30th, we have another exciting event, and this is something that we did with Siena College last year. We'll be doing it with Russell Sage College this year, and it is a mentoring event, not just for young people coming out of college, but also how do you find mentors and sponsors in your career now, and those people who will help you get to the next level. We have a wonderful panel assembled for that as well. 3 Women at Work board members who are alums will be on that panel, and Sale, the Sale Group, who is right here. We also have DeQuetta Jones from the YWCA and Andrea Crisafulli from Crisafulli Brothers. So it'll be a fantastic panel. Your admission, your ticket to that event actually also pays for a student to be part of the network. So it's a really, really fantastic lunch event, and we hope you can join us. It'll be at the Russell Sage campus in Troy. We also, as looking toward 2017 in our events, if you enjoyed this event and like Faith, are inspired by what we're doing here at Women at Work, your business does have the opportunity to sponsor our events. Come and talk to any of us on the Women at Work team about that. And we're looking toward topics of finance, entrepreneurship. We have a big summit coming up related to the state of women in New York, which is very exciting. It's off of the survey that we are sponsoring as part of Women at Work. So much good stuff happening here. We hope you connect with us. We hope you bring your friends to the next event. They automatically become members when that happens. And if you are new, a new sign up today, which you are if you signed up for this event and you're not already a Women at Work member, congratulations, you are now. Please see Shelby on your way out, and she can get you a new member packet. Shelby, do you want to wave so they know who to look for?
Hi guys.
She has some great information on the network, some of the issues of the magazine that you may have missed, and that we hope you'll see her and we'll enjoy seeing you at future events. Maile's going to hang around until 10 o'clock. You can come and meet her, do a little meet and greet before you leave. But thank you again for being a part of this event, and we hope to see you again.